Hello and welcome to Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing big business in rural Middle America. I'm Deb Barnett, also with Southern Illinois Now, or SI Now, where we focus on economic development in the Southern Illinois region as a great place to live and work and do business.
And I'm Russell Williams. I'm Director of Ethos. We are a small business incubator, co-working spaces. We do training and development here in downtown Marion, Illinois. Thank you for joining us. You're joining us in the Citadel building, which is found on Tower Square Plaza. And I want to thank our sponsors for making this possible. Every time we have a podcast episode, thank you to Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Fowler Heating and Cooling, the Swinford Media Group, of course, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, and our producers at Union Street Arts.
And you can join the Small Town Big Business community by subscribing to the podcast on your favorite platform. You can also listen and watch, so you can see us live and in person on YouTube. Simply search Small Town Big Business and subscribe for free so that you don't miss our next release.
Yeah, we have some very special guests.
We do.
They are the ones in green.
They are, yes.
They can tell us about that, but can you tell us about that?
Of course. I am so excited to welcome today Jamie Green and Brooke Guthman to the podcast today. And it's going to be a little bit of a different conversation. Number one, because we have not just one, but two of you here today, but also because part of what you're doing in your small town and your business is helping other businesses and other entrepreneurs thrive. So let's back it up a minute though, and we're going to start just by asking a little bit about, just tell us a little bit about you, and we'll start there.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Brooke Guthman. I live and reside in Murphysboro, Illinois. I'm an SIU graduate, but after that, I was dead set on leaving Southern Illinois and, planting roots somewhere outside of my hometown community. I was pretty quick to realize that everything I love is here. I actually am currently the member services manager at Egyptian Electric Cooperative, located in Murphysboro, and luckily for me, my job aligns with my newfound kind of passion of economic development. At one of my conferences, I had heard a speech basically on downtown revitalization, and it just confirmed something that was already kind of pressed on my heart from Jamie, and from that we created the Revitalize 62966 movement, as well as my husband and I purchased 3 commercial storefront buildings in Murphysboro.
Wow. So you have a full-time job and
Yes.
all of the other things that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, with 3 kids too.
3 kids too.
But yeah, so it kind of came about with the theory of purchasing buildings and then encouraging others to do the same and help in that revitalization movement of, wanting to live and work in Murphysboro and how it's a great place for that. So our first one was a coffee shop that was like the very first thing I wanted, gathering space. And Jamie had introduced me to, I think you guys have introduced him on here before, as TJ Cowan.
Yes.
So he came and looked at this building that, was in shambles. It was leaking from the ceiling. It had termites, no power or water. And my husband actually did majority of the work himself, and we had it kind of move-in ready for him to open up Cold-Blooded Coffee. Wow. It was our first one.
And that's the first of many businesses that have moved into downtown Murphysboro. Yeah. And so, Jamie, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the downtown revitalization movement.
I'm similar. My name is Jamie Green. I grew up, born and raised in Murphysboro, and never really went outside the walls of Murphysboro. Didn't drive on an interstate until I was 18 years old. Wow. And so I was.
And which interstate was it?
It was 57.
Oh wow! So you just went for the big stuff,
Yeah. And so graduated from SIU as well, and graduated in radiologic sciences. So I was in healthcare for 20 years, and then moved away. Similar to Brooke, dead set on leaving a small town behind and never coming back.
And that's pretty common, I think, among a lot of
here,
among a lot of, high school age kids. They just want to see what's out there and think, oh, they're never coming back. But like the two of you soon realize how special home is. Yeah.
And we moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and northern Indianapolis for work. And it just, something didn't feel like home. And there was an opportunity that came up that I still say was a blessing in disguise, where my husband had lost his job. And so we decided to give Southern Illinois a try. Yeah. And so we moved back, and I just soon realized that it wasn't the place that it was whenever I grew up, and it was vacant. It was like an old movie in black and white where it was empty, and you just are kind of walking around wanting to know where everybody is and where everything went. And a lot of negativity and just trying to reroute our life into, we had a small child at the time, and figuring out where we go to school at, where do we do these things at. And I just felt as though Murphysboro was not the place that I grew up in. And the negativity that I heard, I felt as though if we were going to decide to stay back there, we could be part of the problem or part of the solution. And that was really kind of the tipping off point for us. My husband is not from Murphysboro, and so it was a lot of buy-in to get him to think it in a place like I did, when the memories of growing up there. And so we have 3 kids now, and that's basically been our motto ever since, is finding a way that we can create a space that our children would have an opportunity whenever they grow up to possibly stay and raise a family. And we can't rely on everyone else to do that. So we got started.
And did you already say that what you do, are you full-time?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I own my own insurance business with Country Financial in Murphysboro, and my husband and I both own SJ Properties. Started that in 2018, where we bought 6 commercial buildings and 4 apartments in downtown Murphysboro on the block right beside Brooks.
From the same owner.
From the same owner.
Yeah,
Really?
about
That,
I think it was about 4 to 6 months apart. Purchased
that did not have them for sale and had refused to sell them for 20 years.
Yes.
Right.
Wow.
And she had done not much maintenance or work on them in the times that she had them. I figured she owned them when I was about 10 years old.
Okay, wow. And how long have you two known each other?
I mean, we went to school together.
Oh,
We were probably about 4 years apart, 3 years apart. So we connected over a commonality of just a passion for our community. And we are involved in similar organizations and church.
Yep,
and
our kids.
things like that,
Yeah.
A couple of our kids are same
Our
age.
mom's group, yeah.
Talk more about the Murphysboro community for the folks that may be listening or watching and they don't know Southern Illinois like we know Southern Illinois, but describe Murphysboro, Illinois.
I think people ask us that a lot. I feel like when we go places, why Murphysboro?
Was it a good question?
Why would why are you there? Why there? I think probably a common denominator for us is that's home. That's where we feel like we're comfortable at home. But Murphysboro has been a place where there has been so many opportunities that I think I didn't realize came about until I got older. And I experienced the city, and you experience this bigger setting. And in a small community, I like being able to see people I know when I go places, and I like being able to see familiar faces. So when we talk about Murphysboro, it's, maybe in the beginning it was part of, I'm going to be this saving grace of this town. Here I am going to try to swoop in and do this, and it's going to work, and it's going to be great. And that did not happen in the beginning. And I would say probably one of the main goals is looking at the town as a whole and seeing a lot of our peers and our ages move away and saying, how can we get this back? How can we bring families back to this town so that they have opportunities? How can we move Murphysboro back on the map? Because it was, when we were younger, it was a place that flourished, and businesses and buildings and people. And so what can we do to add this back on the map? Because it seems as though our town has been forgotten about.
Murphysboro is about 7 miles west of Carbondale in Jackson County.
Carbondale is where Southern Illinois University
Yes, Southern
is,
Illinois
if
University.
folks are familiar with that.
Yeah. We have Kincaid Lake. We kind of have a variety of, I would say we're kind of a bedroom community to Carbondale. But back in the day, in the 1920s, before the tri-state tornado came through, it was a booming community. And, you know, when the interstates and the malls came about, it kind of deadened in the 1970s, 1980s. And so, you know, kind of the brick and mortar is kind of now back on the scene, and that's kind of where we came in. And, you know, whenever I talk to my husband about doing this, like financially, he's like, well, I want to know why we would want to, you know, start Walnut Street Properties, and what's the end game? Like, what's it going to look like for us financially? And I'm like, I can't tell you that. It's really a risk, and it was the largest risk that we have done. You know, just assuming that you're going to have the buy-in from the community to support the investment that you're not only going to make in the buildings, but that they're going to buy in to move in a business. So we have had no problem renting them or getting buy-in from the community. In fact, I have yet to have a building really sit vacant.
Yeah. We have a waiting list.
Yeah, right we've had people like, hey, I can call you if the other two fall through on this. So yeah, we have 3 commercial storefronts and 2 Airbnbs. Now we have it being rented a little bit differently. With COVID, we had it rented for a year lease to some SIU students and traveling nurses. But we've had it. Even the Airbnb, when I first opened it, I was amazed at the people from all over the United States and in the Midwest that either come back to visit SIU or come to the wine trails or were from here. I mean, it's really amazing to see how many people come to the area.
And you talk about the momentum. It seems like every time I turn around, there is a new business opening in downtown Murphysboro. And similar to what we're seeing here in Marion, similar to what we're seeing in Benton, and I probably shouldn't have started naming communities because it's all over Southern Illinois. And so, you know, a lot of folks, you hear these negative messages about how rural America is dying, small towns are dying, and we're experiencing just the opposite. But talk a little bit about, like, how did that momentum start? You mentioned it was a risk. So how did that all get started, and what kind of support did you find from the community?
Do you want to answer that or me? Because I kind of feel like I could wrap it up into a few different things.
Yeah, I think, you know, when people, again, ask, why did your husband and you decide to do this? If you talk to a financial person or you talk to a banker, there's no way that they would have told this is a really good idea financially, you know, just all the things. And it was a 2-year process for us to actually buy these buildings because, you know, we're not millionaires. We didn't have this money just saved up to dump on this. And any person would have probably said, you know, invest this money or do something else with this money that you can see your return on. And my husband, like Brooke's husband, is an engineer, so they're calculating numbers in their heads that doesn't make sense. And here we are saying we need to do this. And several people approached in the beginning, you know, man, I bet you're making all this money off these buildings, and, you know, like, this is just a great income for you. And I don't really,
and a money pit.
I'm not saying that, you know, this isn't. And so it's really hard for people to grasp that we're not doing it for income. We're doing it because we have a small town that does not have an administration, that has its private grant writer, and that has staff with a city manager that can help recruit people for our town and help provide all these resources. We do the best we can with, you know, the administration that we have. But it was things that we were trying to do in the town, and we were getting no. We've never done it that way. We don't do that. That's not what we do here. But it was like, we can't move the bar forward if we don't. So one of the things I think that pushed us over the edge to purchase the buildings and to go forward with this, and the momentum behind it, was we're getting told no. And I don't want to be told no. And we have to find a way to find a yes. But we have to show them. If we put it on paper and we would go to city council and we would talk to, you know, administrators, it was almost like, there's no way you can do this. And so it was buying the building to prove that we could, proving that these buildings were willing to be saved, proving that this town was willing to be turned around, proving that we could bring back people and families to our town. And really, that's been the biggest satisfaction, I think, for me and my husband, is once we started, organically blocks to the east and to the west and to the north and to the south, and people purchasing buildings, multiple buildings now, that they're getting out of the hands of people that just may not be local anymore, don't have the means to do it, maybe they're older, maybe whatever the reason is, and seeing that just organically happen without any type of fight or need. And we literally can't get buildings renovated fast enough, I think. So that's been the true motivation and momentum. Every time that happens, it's like, man, here we go, one more block, let's just keep going. So that's what I think drives us.
And people want to be a part of something and where
Yes.
things are happening, and that's
Right.
that's what's happening.
That's what
So
I was going
good.
to say. What Jamie has not mentioned is that she basically revitalized the Murphysboro Main Street organization. So between that and like the Revitalize and having an excited mayor, and then what Amy has been doing with 17th Street and all of it together, I'm listening to this Audible right now about leadership and about how organizations and things that just have it. And really what I think it is a commonality of a passion to see the outcome, to see the vision. And I feel like it's kind of a combination of all of those things that really makes us in a unique time right now with what's going on downtown.
Yeah.
What is the name of that you just mentioned, the
The
Audible?
Audible. Do you remember?
I know folks will want to know. I want to know.
It is by Craig Rochelle. It's
Yes.
like it's a leadership. How to
Lead Like It Matters is the
like,
name
and
of his
then
book.
it. Yes,
Yes.
lead like it matters. That's actually what I'm reading right now.
I always, lately I've been, it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back in my mind in different things. I always am very passionate about, there's a difference between coaching and leading. People can be a coach and they can't necessarily lead. People can be great leaders, but coaching isn't exactly their
Sure.
their strong point. And so I really feel like there's a difference, because if someone just coached us into doing this, I don't think the outcome would have been
You have to believe it.
for
That's interesting.
two women in their in their 30s when we started, and coming and doing something that we didn't have architects and this group of people that to come in and back us up, and be able to provide us all these resources. We've had to go out and do that. And so I think our goal is to lead, to consistently keep doing that. And then the coaching, that I think it just kind of comes natural to the other people, because then we can bring it back to saying, okay, I can do the same thing. I can do this, and when we constantly tell people, we're not withholding information. What do you need?
Right, how
Our
can
goal
we-
is to make the other experience for others better. And one of our goals with Main Street, the train depot was gifted to us about 2 years ago now. And, we're in the middle of revitalizing that as a place that someone can come and get all the information in one spot, that we have had to go out and spend hours of our time trying to find out, so that we can accommodate these people wanting to come to the town and start businesses.
I always like to say collaboration over competition. I think that is a underlying theme of wanting to authentically help each other
Right.
and help the betterment of the community. It's not about how it's going to affect us personally or our business or our pocketbook. It is the belief that we will see it all succeed.
Yeah. So I have a burning revitalization question, because I'm part of this downtown restoration, revitalization, whatever you want to call it, downtown Marion, where several of the buildings on Tower Square Plaza, who easily are 100 plus years old, and people have invested in those, including this building that we're sitting in, the Citadel building, hotel / bank / professional offices, and then sat vacant for a couple decades. So in your minds, are you restoring these buildings back to what they look like previously, or are you revitalizing them into usage for the future? Where's the balance between the two? Because that's what I'm trying to address right now. Are we restoring it back to how it might have looked in the past, or are we creating something for the next generation? And how do you balance those?
It would be a combination of the two. And I'll tell you, finances has a lot to do with that.
Yep. I would say the same. When I describe it to people, I say we are renovating them modernly historic.
Okay.
Because
I love that.
anytime that, we just did a 3,500 square foot building and a shared space, and it's kind of the first of its concept in our downtown, and trying to take ideas that I have found in other communities and trying to bring that to Murphysboro. It's hard to rent out 3,500 square feet to one business, in today's world and economy. And so, we chose to put money into restoring original hardwood floors that we could save. However, there are areas in those buildings that we cannot put back the way that it was due to supplies, due to, cost of different things, and we have to look at the money and the return. Same thing with the outside. We have intentions of trying to keep those the way that they were. However, there's, we've put awnings on some of the buildings, which is a different format of a little bit about what they used to look like when they used to have them on there. So I think we do a good mix of how can we accommodate this to the best of the ability to welcome businesses here, but we still want that historic, because that's kind of the landscape that we're going for downtown, and I see it in this circle that we're in here in Marion, is you're trying to mix, we've got years and names and of people that had these buildings, and they're kind of falling off and crumbling, and so those are things we would want to restore. That would be things we would probably put the money and invest in there, and then kind of mix the old with the new.
Okay.
And I think what makes us a little bit unique, at least I would like to think so, is that my husband and I have made a decision to do the investment of the rehab. I know a lot of landlords will be like, hey, it's your space. You do what you want with it. And for me, first of all, I want it to be done right. So we build that into our rent. But I think that's another thing is you have to be able to do an investment that doesn't cost more than what you can get rent for. So we want to make it affordable to our tenants. We want to have a nice space, a place that they can be for the long haul, not a fly-by-night business. So we are very conscious on the types of businesses that we're trying to attract, and we are not shy to ask people to, hey, would you like to open up a second location here? Hey, how about this?
Right.
And I feel like at the end of the day, what you charge in rent has a lot to do with that.
Yep.
So for those who have not been to downtown Murphysboro, you mentioned a lot of different types of businesses. Give us a little bit of a rundown of some of the businesses that have come in, because like I said, every time I turn around, there's a new business. And in addition to what types of businesses are there, I know some of them have been really creative about partnering together to help reduce some of those costs.
Well, I would like to say one thing before we talk about that.
Sure.
Is since the revitalization kind of has started, Jamie and I were both very much involved in that. We've had 15 to 16 new businesses open. I'm not saying that it's because
And
of
in
that.
what time frame is that?
Well,
Just
when
to give
was
some
that?
perspective.
And it was like right at COVID. So I would say 2018, let's say, the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And we've had 2, maybe 3 businesses that have actually retired.
Yeah.
So
During COVID, we had, out of the 6 commercial storefronts that we had, and it wasn't until after the year after, actually, and she retired. She'd been in the business for a really long time. So that was, and it's what Brooke was talking about, the brick and mortar, it's a whole new concept now after COVID. It's really hard to get businesses to put themselves back in a brick and mortar store. And so we can't renovate something and try to rent it out for this astronomical amount because COVID showed people to operate from home. But believing in the brick and mortar and still being able to park your car and walk downtown and walk for a few blocks to be able to get what you need is still something that I feel like is very important, especially when you can do it local and you don't have to go to a big city to do it. So I almost feel as though we kind of had to restart the recruiting process over a little bit. I know I've been looking for some retail, and that's been really hard because retail suffered quite a bit with COVID. And so, putting ourselves in places to be able to just pitch a, conversation. Hey, do you have a storefront? Would you like to? How much space do you need? Like, what would you think about that? And we look up facts. We have different things. We 7,000 cars drive by our buildings every day. And so we use those, for powerful, marketing. That is your marketing. You're on the main, you're on the main street. To be able to do. So I think the recruiting process is just always for us. I think everywhere we go, we've got that in the front of our minds that we're here to talk about it. And the thing about it is if I don't have a space, if Brooke doesn't have a space, I want to find you a space. So it goes beyond our buildings, to be able to come to Murphysboro. We want you to come. We want you to eat. We want you to shop. We want you to stay here. We want you to visit. We want you to come back. And it's not passing through. We want to find a place that you could stop and it would be a good fit for you. Right. So what building is open that we can get you in? And, probably, I don't know how common this is in other towns, but we go probably more than we should, and we find the building owner, we contact them, we're like, hey, and sometimes that will just be it right there, is that they will realize, oh, someone wants to rent my building. Oh, I got to get it fixed up.
That's an excellent service because you've got the gifts for connecting and matchmaking, right? And if our small towns has somebody like that has those gifts or can develop those gifts, that is really key to small town revitalization and growth. You both have those, but you're so enthusiastic. You're great spokespersons.
Oh, well, good. Well, that's what I feel like is we want to find the people. Like whenever I talk to students, because I'm involved with our CEO program locally, is just like find what you're passionate about and find a niche with that. Like there is some aspect in the community that you can be involved in, and maybe it is the music program, you know what I'm saying, at the high school, or maybe it's volunteering in another area. But that's what makes a community special, I think. But back to the buildings, something that we try to keep a good mix of. You were asking kind of the difference in the businesses, but about making it places that you eat, making it service driven. That's kind of what we had learned in our study for the Revitalize, is that touch services you can't order online. But then you want to balance that with reasons for people to shop downtown. So then that's where you try to balance it with some retail. And that's kind of what our philosophy is on that.
So I think you touched on something really important, because it wasn't just that the two of you jumped into this and thought it was a great idea. There was some research behind it on the community side, right, or the Main Street side, that kind of revealed these needs also. So for communities around small towns that do feel like their downtown was once something amazing and maybe it's not that anymore, what advice would you give to them on how to even get started with that and working with their community?
I would say a lot of what we started at was finding areas that need a cleanup, needs a group of people that could come and, I would say our first project in getting involved before we bought the buildings was coming into our town. We have a huge billboard that says, "Welcome to Murphysboro." It was faded. You really couldn't read it. The landscaping below, well, there wasn't any. It was overgrown, looked like a bunch of railroad ties just kind of hanging out there that fell over at some point. And I just thought, man, perception is everything. Which we teach our kids it's not. Because I teach, we talk about with the kids, it's on the inside of, you have to get to know people from the inside. And then that, would come outward. But when you're talking about marketing your town and you're talking about business, perception is everything. Because if you drive by once and you don't like it, you're probably not going to drive by again. And so talked with my husband and got a group of friends together, and we just designed a retaining wall, and a couple businesses donated some dirt and some rock, and went to the city and approached them. Hey, what do you have some money? We could plant some things in here to make this look better. Contacted who was responsible for taking care of the sign, because that was separate than the landscaping. And within, a short period of time, we had the thing looking as if it was brand new. We sketched it out kind of strategically. Now we can put Christmas lights on it. Now we light it up for different events for the town. And it just became this, now you come to our town and you see something that is well taken care of, something that is kept. And we made no money off of that. We just found a place or something in town. There's little curbs or little excerpts or little in front of different towns that we would go and just clean up landscaping. We have a cleanup day. Main Street host a cleanup day every year, and that's where we have church groups and we have volunteer groups of all ages come pick up trash downtown. We offer to wash windows for people's businesses. We offer to plant flowers and planters that are right out front. What do you need to be done to help your business be successful? You're the business owner, you're busy. What can we do to help? We get the city involved by washing the sidewalks and just trying to make it a community
It's
event.
the little things.
And it is the little
that's-
things,
that's
because
incredible.
we get comments about the flowers and the things in town, and then now people donate money that maybe they can't help in that way, but they want to donate funds to be able to help us purchase those things. So you can start small. You can start with something that doesn't cost anything, and it's been a really great way to get our kids involved in the community.
Yeah. So at what point did that all change? Because it's like pushing the flywheel. We're just trying to get it started. And you mentioned some resistance at the beginning of this interview, but then after a while, the flywheel starts spinning, and it goes in directions that you didn't think. Right.
Yeah.
The people are so motivated and they're out there. At what point or what happened? Do you think that? Did you see it going by itself?
When we purchased the buildings, 6 commercial buildings, 4 apartments, only about 30% was occupied. So that was the biggest scare for my husband and for me, was that, is this going to bring it, the income and the rent that they were paying was not going to pay the bills. It was not going to cover what we needed it to cover. And so my biggest fear, in fact, when we purchased it, one business went out of business, and the other one wanted a bigger space and moved. So then we only had 2 that were occupied. And that was probably the scariest moment, because you didn't know what was going to happen. So immediately we just started cleaning up. We just started cleaning them up, like getting this stuff, washing things and getting things moved out that didn't need to be, getting lighting put in to where they were actually recognized and being able to notice them. We bought and made, inexpensive posters that said SJ Properties now available, and just started advertising what we were doing, and people started noticing, like, what are these people doing downtown? And then people would approach us for spots, and then we just really kind of took it from there.
I kind of feel like, I really hadn't thought about what you had asked before, but as you're talking, I was thinking about the community visioning sessions that we had done during the Revitalize process. And like identifying, like when you ask people, what do you love about your community? What is unique? What do you not like? And like challenging like different people in the community to start thinking about that. And then really aligning, like we found a whole group, what was it, like 40 artists in our community that we didn't even know about. So from this, now we have an art committee, and we have like 7 or 8 murals in town, and that is specific to a group of people who are passionate about that. So I think for me, it was probably that moment of bringing somebody from the outside in and touching people that maybe hadn't been in the conversation before.
Yeah, good.
That's kind of, I don't know.
Helping
Because it's
them.
not her and I that are
Sure.
making, at this
Right.
point, there is
Right.
so many like spot on A+ people in our community that are doing good things. I mean,
Yeah.
like one of the people from our community visioning sessions has a business in town, and it has taken the Big Muddy Monster Brew Fest and head on took it over, and it has made it successful. So, there's just it's so many different people that have
It was
made it what it is.
It was strategic in trying to also recruit people that put them in a place where their passion is. Not everyone wants to join Main Street. Not everyone maybe wants to join Chamber, but the arts, and that's their specialty, and that's what they do. And finding people and finding young individuals that, what do you like to do? And then finding a spot that they can feel as though they can be in their
Making a
element.
difference. I know you have like a core group of people that do the planters on Main Street.
Yes,
that was
and that's
kind
what
of
they
your
love to do.
Yes.
They've they love to do that, and putting finding people that's businesses fit in your spot also, I think it is key. Main Street isn't necessarily for everyone, for everyone's business to put in. And I think now, I don't know if my turning point was until after maybe COVID, because the apartments was something we had not started on yet. And realizing that people can move back to a small town. People were on the coast. People were far away and moved away from Southern Illinois to find good paying jobs. And when COVID happened, a lot of them can work from home. And so now we have this demand for young individuals and business people wanting to rent downtown loft apartments. And now we can't get them ready fast enough because now they've moved back to the area and they want to plant a seed, back in our community. And so trying to do that to accommodate, I think, is going to be a huge change. So that turning point after COVID for me was like, listen, we have people that are moving back to small communities for a reason. Their families are here. They want to come here. If we don't get it ready, we're going to miss the boat, and we can't miss the boat.
We're seeing that all over Southern Illinois. People, whether it's them moving back or discovering the region for the first time, just the beauty of it, the quality of life, the lower cost of living, as you mentioned, being able to walk down the street and your kids know people and you know people. It's just a wonderful community, a sense of community. And I think that's what you all described, and everyone finding their place as well, right? So we've talked a lot about successes. It sounds like this has just been one success after another, and this is kind of smooth going, right? But I know from talking to the two of you that it has not been without its challenges. So I don't know if you want to share about challenges, or just in general.
Oh yeah, let's get some gritty details.
Dive in. But people who own businesses experience challenges. So how do you get through those? Talk about that.
Day by day. Well, I would say my biggest challenge right now is keeping it going, keeping the vision in focus and endurance. You know what I'm saying? Because it's real easy to get sidetracked with bad distractions of maybe it's, somebody talking bad about what you're doing, or it could be you have a huge water leak in your building. You know what I'm saying? And then it can weigh you down. And it's really just about pushing through. That's what I probably deal with as far as challenges, but nothing's been unfixable to this point.
There's a great book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. We're about to do.
I have that on my list.
We're about to do it at Mastermind here.
There you go.
And so it's exactly what you just talked about. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think we're going through it now, actually. I think it's one of those things where it could easily change your mindset when you're trying to do great things, and it's 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. I'm an impatient person by nature, and so I want to snap my fingers and everything be ready and done, and this business has taught me that that's just not how that goes. We have dealt, I think, simultaneously with a sewer pipe bust, water pipe bust, and we actually had, in our last renovation of the building that I was talking about, our biggest one yet, had a contractor walk without finishing the project and ruining partial of what was done. And so we're dealing with that right now, and that's been hard because all progress stops. You can't go forward. You can't, and so now we're experiencing loss of income because we can't move forward to fix up the next space. And so it's very easy to get into that rut of, how am I going to get past this? How am I, I just trusted someone with money that didn't come easy, that money that's not just rolling in from all these places. And it's been hard to navigate that, to say what next. How do we approach this? How do we move forward? How do we just not say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be doing this? And because that's what crosses your mind. And I just keep thinking that no matter how we figure this out, no matter how we go forward, that if we don't, that we are going to ruin all the things that we have done up to this point, and showing our town, our leadership, our administration, and the people that are wanting to come to Murphysboro, that we're just going to give up and kind of let it die. And I'm not willing to let that happen. Do I know what's going to happen with that? No. We're taking it day by day. We're trying to dip into maybe some grant opportunities so that will help fill that gap while we're waiting on how we're going to be able to solve the situation. But it is challenging in the fact that since we do have other full-time jobs and raising kids that, we can't devote those days to grant writing and to, going out. It's in our free time, and the free time is limited. Yeah. Right. So the challenges of that, I feel like people's opinions of what you're doing. I think people have misconceptions when they don't know you, of what you're about and what you're trying to do. And social media is a great tool, and it's been a great tool for our town and our business and progress. But it's also a tool that people have used, I think, to somewhat form opinions about you and what you're trying to do. And I think in having this business since 2018, and then being a leader in Main Street, you have to really just try to be the best person you can with your integrity and the way that you carry yourself, right. And not burning bridges and trying to just let people know that you're trying to do the best that you can in a way that you're trying to be fair, and you're trying to support everyone, but also keep yourself afloat.
Okay, so I have another burning question.
That's a lot.
Relevant to me again. Sorry, self.
Okay, that's okay.
But, okay, so in revitalization, downtown revitalization, you're bringing a lot of elements in. You're bringing politics in, because you mentioned the mayor. You guys have a fantastic mayor in Will Stevens, and then I guess a city council or commissioner type of government. So there's some politics there that you need them on board. And then you have churches and other nonprofits, and they're investors too. And then you have the small business owners and maybe some corporations that are much larger. How do you balance all that? Because you would think that everybody has their own idea once you get moving of what needs to go. But how do you bring people together and not really make it into a political squabble of what's best? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, and I don't. I guess I look at it pretty positively. I haven't really head on dealt with that. Because I feel like at the end of the day, we're trying to accomplish the same goal. We don't care who that has to deal with or what we have to do. And I feel like a lot of people have that same mentality. So, and even city council and church leaders, it's all the same goal.
Right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes people participate and some don't.
But you guys have an abundance mindset. It's very apparent, but scarcity mindset is the opposite, and that's difficult in small towns.
It is.
As it is everywhere.
Yeah. I think we've had to really try to step back a little bit and be very open to the fact of, a lot of small towns have this feel that if you weren't born and raised there, you're not part of it. And you have a really hard time with outsiders coming in and try to establish, because you have these people that say that, whoa, this is how we've always done it. And that's been challenging, because that's changing people's mindset of, if we don't open ourselves up to people coming in, we're not going to stay afloat as a town and as a community. That's been, I don't think it's majority of people do it on purpose. It's just nature that they're protective of our town, and they remember what it used to be. And it's very hard sometimes to open up, their mindsets to a new way of business, to the way that the world is kind of going in business. I think city council, we've had to just show them that it's worth it, and we continue to have to show them. I think their minds have been changed on several of the events that we've done, and I always pinpoint the first one, because I don't like the word no, and I kept getting the word no, was when we decided to decorate the town for Christmas. And it literally started by a Facebook post. Someone said, man, our town looks real grinchy when you come into town. And I saw it, and I commented on it, and I was like, maybe we should do something about it. And it formed this Murphysboro Hometown Christmas that has now for the past 6 years, maybe. I mean, we have a town tree lighting, and everyone looks forward to it. Families come, and that's what they do in our town. So it has been one of those things where you have to just change their mind, but talking about it isn't going to do it.
We've had to lead by example.
We've had to show it, and that's made. I think that's brought sacrifice a lot to us and our families. I could arguably say that I probably should be at home more, with our family, but our kids, I think, are old enough now that we're starting to now be able to bring them out with us and do things. And when I was asked to revitalize, I guess, or restore Main Street, I had a baby that was 3 months old.
Oh, wow.
And it was our third, so I didn't know which way was up. And I remember saying no, and then going home and thinking, we have to do this. We have to find a way to do this, because this could be the start of something.
Sure.
Yeah. If I've learned anything, you can't rely. I mean, you have to be, if you're going to ask somebody to do something, you should be willing to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what has pushed me through, is that's what people are going to take away from it, is people walking the walk and talking the talk.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes back full circle to what the two of you mentioned at the very start, was that you can either be part of the problem or you can be part of the solution. So for listeners out there who love their small towns and maybe they are balancing a young family or full-time jobs like the two of you are, what advice would you give to them, or encouragement would you give to them to be part of the solution?
I was just thinking about this actually in the car as I was walking through my or listening to my Audible. If there's one thing that everybody can do, I feel like we can start with stop negatively talking about our communities in Southern Illinois. Like actually spin it. Like, let's positively talk about it. And what are the good things to talk about? And I feel like, especially with social media, negativity has such a big space in the arena, and people just, thrive on negativity. But if you can start the dialogue of positivity, it's really contagious.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you almost have to fake it till you make it sometimes with that. And I feel like just words are so powerful.
And it costs nothing.
It costs nothing. And that's what I mean. That's the one thing I could say that everybody can do.
Right.
Because then it affects all of us.
Yeah.
Then we all win.
That's good, Craig Rochelle, right? It starts by speaking, right? And changes your mindset and then your behavior after that. So that's excellent.
Yeah. I definitely, that would be my number one, because I think that has just shown in us doing that for the last 5 or 6 years what an impact that's had. I would tell probably other people, because when people talk to me about it, it's normally a financial thing. Well, I can't do this. I don't have that kind of money like you do. And I'm like, what money?
Oh, I tell everybody, I'm like, I am a normal, average person. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
And so, think outside the box. It costs nothing to get a group of people together in your community at a space and figure out how you want to make your first move, whether it's landscaping or cleaning up something or offering help to someone. That costs nothing, and then build off of that. Second thing I would say is there's always people that feel how you feel, but they may have done their time in their community and felt as though, I did that when I was younger. It's time for someone else. Find those people's network and have those conversations, and you may find an investor that is willing to feel as though their time has passed on wanting to be out there and putting themselves out there, but they have the funds to be able to get something started in your town that could really literally change it. And that's probably the most of what I hear when people say, I can't do what you're doing because I don't have the money. Yeah. We didn't have the money either. And I can tell you, when you start looking and you start thinking about changing your town or buying a building or trying to revitalize something in your town and make a difference, you have to give it time to be able to figure out. We literally, when we were debating on whether to buy these buildings, we knew we had to pay the money to get them inspected, because if the inspection was bad, then there was our answer. We knew that this wasn't something that we should go and do. We got back the inspection and it was good. It was stable. And so then we thought, well, now what? Now what are we going to do? Like, we have to have down payment to be able to do, where's that going to come from? And, things work themselves out. My husband had a great year at his company, and they decided to send a bonus in the mail that was almost to the exact dollar of what we needed to purchase these buildings. And we didn't have a plan after that. Yeah. We just had a plan that we felt as though this was a sign that we should do it and we should make the first move and pray that it works after.
Yeah, there's a lot of faith and trust there.
That's right.
There is. But take your time. I mean, jump in, but do take some time to really map out what your goal is.
Yeah.
Well, and then just like, I was dead set on this coffee shop, and a lot of it's with timing and stuff, and then to get to accomplish the same goal but with somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just really believe that, things happen for a reason and things like that.
The coffee shop stemmed from me literally asking him. I worked with him at my previous job, calling him and asking him if he knew anybody that would want to open up a coffee shop in Murphysboro. And he was like, well, wait, I might want to. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, he wasn't from Murphysboro. Mm-hmm. Well, come over. Let's have dinner. Let's walk. Let's show you a few. Let's show you what we mean. And again, it was in shambles. I mean, you have to have a vision when you look at these buildings, because looking in is not turnkey.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we may have not asked that you guys want to cover today?
I'm trying to think. I was thinking about something and I forgot what it was.
I would say shrink your circle. Shrink your circle. You cannot please every single person. And, I was used to feeling as though I could, even moving back in my early 30s, which I think it's been 11 years ago now that we moved back. And the circle started out very big. And there's nothing wrong with shrinking that circle down to a few people that you can trust, that you can bounce ideas off of and have the same passion as you. Because I felt as there was nothing more that we could have just changed our mind very easily than keeping the same circle of people that were bringing us down and constantly telling us what you're doing is never going to work. Mm-hmm. What you're doing, we had some people in administration tell us that. We had some people, business owners, tell us that. I had lots of people telling us that what we were doing was never going to work. And still a few maybe like to chime in and, come in my office at any given day to just tell me that. Yeah. And I would probably say that find your people, find your circle. It's never the group of people I had in my 20s, in my 30s, and now getting ready to go, beyond that has changed. And it's not been a bad thing. There are going to be people that are going to cheer you on, and there are going to be people that want to tag along and bring you back down. Mm-hmm. And you just have to find that one person or a few people to have that camaraderie with and to take with you on the journey that's going to think like you. And that's huge. That's key.
Yeah.
I would say my last one would be, the grass is always greener on the other side. So I would challenge everybody to say and this is what I tell our CEO students, when I talk about community involvement, is what do you see a need for? Because I always ask them, go through some different questions. And how can you make that reality? People that move away from Southern Illinois, for what reason? What is it that they're looking for that is not here? And how can we be a part of making it that? And I just feel like it just takes a village. And
awesome.
Yeah.
So plug CEO, because you mentioned it twice now. People may not know what that is.
Oh, gosh. Well, Jackson CEO is one of them. I also help I've spoken to the Randolph County startup, and basically it's a collaboration of different school students. In Jackson County, it's the 4 high schools, and the students come together and they create a business and they present a business plan at the end of the year, and it's phenomenal. So I always talk about it's really funny. It's about split. Half of them want to move away, and then half of them want to stay here. But through the years, more of them are saying they want to stay here. And so I always talk about, what a great, assets we have here with community colleges and a university right here in our backyard. And if you want to really start a business, why not choose here?
Yeah.
So I just kind of challenge everybody with those questions.
Awesome. How would people get a hold of each of you if they're interested in downtown Murphysboro or your businesses?
It's It's kind of a little bit of everything with me. I mean, like I said, I have people walk in my insurance building all the time wanting to talk to me about something with the town. So, you know, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and SJ Properties is usually how I tell people to contact and find us there, and we post progress of what we're doing to give people a little idea of kind of our approach. You know, people will, Murphysboro Main Street at Gmail is where, you know, I try to keep some businesses separate from each other, and so we tell people to contact us. Our Main Street Facebook page is another one that people get a hold of. So I get teased that we need an office at the city administration building to be able to figure out how to get a hold of us. But so we just kind of take it where we see people, and via social media it's
Right. Well, Walnut Street Properties LLC is my Instagram page. I'm not on Facebook personally. I'd say admin at revitalize62966.com, or my personal bguthman28@gmail.com. I mean, we're always available and open to talk to anybody that we can help with. If we can help, we will.
Excellent. So, Brooke and Jamie. Yeah. Thank you so
The
much.
dynamic duo.
This was excellent.
Yeah.
Why the green?
Why the green? So
Like
my
your
business,
last name.
Yeah. Well, I know that people assume that too. I don't even think of that honestly, but my Country Financial business is green. That's our logo colors, and so I have a lot of red and I have a lot of green. But because red is Murphysboro, you know, we have the Apple Festival every year that I feel like we're known for, but you can't wear red and green at the same time because I look like I'm a walking Christmas tree. So I have to split that as wherever I go. So because of it, I guess being March and St. Patrick's Day, and it's my last name, and I'm just checking all the boxes here with the green.
Mine's just a coincidence.
Coincidence.
Well, I mentioned the dynamic duo. I think there are a lot of dynamic duos out there, and hopefully your story has inspired them today to step up. You know, maybe it's not purchasing and renovating buildings or revitalizing their downtown, but it's just making a difference in their community. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Excellent.
Well, thank you again for watching and listening to Small Town Big Business, and thank you to our sponsors. That includes Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Swinford Media Group, and again Luke O'Neill at Union Starts for again making us look and sound so good. If you want to know more about Ethos, we're a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training and development here in downtown Marion. You can contact me. I'm Russell Williams, and you can contact me at russell@watermarkethos.org, or look for us on Facebook, Ethos at the Citadel at Tower Square Plaza.
And I'm Deb Barnett with Southern Illinois Now, or SI Now. You can find us at southernillinoisnow.org and all the social media platforms as well. Don't forget to subscribe to Small Town Big Business on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find us to not only listen, but watch us live on YouTube. Just search Small Town Big Business, and don't forget to subscribe for free.
I'm Russ Williams.
And I'm Deb Barnett. Thanks for joining us for Small Town Big Business.